All right, guys, welcome back to the WeMaxit YouTube channel. Me and my co-host, Mr. Africans, is here, and we have two sets of videos to cover. We're gonna do the men's side of the Concacaf Player of the Year awards nominees, and we're gonna discuss it in length to see who we could pick from both sides. So we're gonna start with the men's first. We're gonna go through the nominees and talk about what we knew of them. In particular that year. All right. So, how are you doing, Mr. Africans?
I'm doing great. It's March. Depending on when you're watching this, it means it's raining now in Canada. But it's still going to snow. So I am mentally prepared for whatever that brings. But yeah, it's weather's nice, life is nice. I can't complain too much.
All right, all right. So let me go straight into the nominees. As you can see here, the nominees for the 2022 CONCACAF Men's Player of the Year are listed in alphabetical order by by last name. So we have Tyler Adams, United States, and Leeds in English Premier League, transferred from RB Leipzig in Germany. All right. So Tyler Adams, Africans. What say you on Tyler Adams?
I think Tyler Adams had one of the more consistent years for U.S. men's soccer player, both at the club, but then especially on the national team level. He was a player that could be counted on for what he needed to do. You definitely, for me at least watching, you felt it when he wasn't on the pitch for the U.S. versus when he was on the pitch. He was just that back line. He's the captain of that team, and that leadership is definitely needed in 2023. We'll leave that comment there. But I feel that he definitely was just for a U.S. player. He was consistent. You knew what you were getting from him in and out, and you didn't really have to question the effort you were going to get from him. And leader of the team, and just all around solid player. Definitely the move to a Leeds definitely has had him show more than what we were seeing at Leipzig. So I think as this year goes on, again, going to the future, I think we'll see a little bit more from him. But his 2022, I think he was probably the most consistent USMNT player.
All right, fair enough, fair enough. For me, I would go to say that when it comes on to the United States team, I saw more from him in 2022, 100%. He was definitely one of their best players, and more, yeah, one of their best players, pretty much. All right. For club side now, being that it's a year 2022 and it's both for club and country, I thought I wanted to see more from him, especially because we have so much top other candidates on the listing still. But definitely qualifying for the World Cup is no easy feat, and he was an integral part of that. So I would say that he's there because based on just talent, he's up there with anyone, to be honest. He's up there with anyone on this list, to be honest. But we have to talk on the performances. And I want to say for United States, definitely it was bigger than his club at that point. So I am not sure if I would put him in the rate in the leading part of the race still, but let's see when we discuss all of the other individuals. So we have moved from Tyler Adams to Andre Blake, the Jamaican Superman. What say you on the Jamaican Superman?
On Andre Blake, we're not
Yes.
gonna go with superlatives here, but I think we saw what he did in the MLS, leading his team all the way up to the semis of the MLS Cup. Solid goalkeeper, probably one of the better ones, if not the best one in the MLS. So on the club side, there's no question for what he can do. On the national team side, and this is where, as someone who used to play goalie, where do you put the blame for goals? Is it on the goalkeeper? Is it the breakdown of the defense? The goalie's the last line of defense there. And maybe with more cohesion, he looks better. Maybe he gets a few saves more if he's maybe a little bit better. But I think the balance of his year, you look at what he did for club, you definitely see that consistency. But then it wasn't matched. And I think you see that with some players, it wasn't as a match for him on the national team level. He's still Jamaica's number one goalkeeper, there's no doubt. But he wasn't able to bring that level that he had at club to his national team. And I think that at the end is what will hurt him in this type of a competition where fans are voting. What about you say?
For me, Mr. Superman, as you don't want to admit, the Jamaican Superman. Yes.
I like the JD. I prefer the right nickname, not the best nickname. The right nickname.
All right. So Andre Blake, no, Andre Blake, as you had said before, for Philadelphia, he's definitely the man. He plays well over and over, and brought them places that I'm sure if it weren't for him, we wouldn't be talking about Philadelphia, because he brought up some super saves in some crucial period. So definitely, I would say, as a goalkeeper, at Philadelphia Union, he deserves to be there. On the flip hand side, for United States, no, you mean for Jamaica, no, for Jamaica, it's tough, because I know so much about the Jamaica team, and I can't say it's all down to him, but he is still a part of the problem, for we not qualifying for the World Cup, to be honest. All right, because he was the leader man, and obviously the team fails, you failed as well. You understand me? And definitely he had some lazy claimed. I don't know if it's because we had that issue when the actually what you would say, they actually stopped from playing him and his set of team players. I don't know if that really affected it. So overall, good keeper, but he never showed the same thing for Jamaica. He was a part of the long ball clique, which you could say you could expect 28 long balls per game, and it's not on target. So I don't know if it's just kick the ball anywhere and just don't look back at it. It was not an impressive sight in terms of what he did for Jamaica, but definitely for Philadelphia Union, he was definitely the man for the team there. So I would say Andre Blake fall into the same category of Tyler Adams, but it's just vice versa. No, yes, vice versa. One gets impressive rating for his club and not so much for his country. All right, yes. So yeah, we have to revisit it at the end. Who are we going to vote for before I make anything? But that's for Andre Blake, the Jamaican Superman. All right, yes. Jonathan David, the Canadian, and Lil striker. What say you? 2022, fresh out of the Canadian frostbite.
Alliteration from JD. I see. It's going to be a fun day today. No, I think Jonathan David, he, to me, had probably one of the more consistent years for Canada. And it was interesting because he started up hot at the beginning of last season. And then he cooled down for club, but then he turned it up for national team. That you have the January window where he literally played essentially every minute of the entire tournament, and being able to do so, what he was able to do was then just be able to, he has the 2 goals in El Salvador and Honduras, and then he's able to help the team continue to qualify for that World Cup. So I think for an overall year, I think without going too far ahead, he is a player that I think should be considered for this award, in my opinion. I think from a club and then there, I think it should be his award to have. But there are other names they have to talk about. But I think overall, right now, I know we're only halfway through this list. He is the player that I think should be getting this award for 2022. What say you, JD?
These guys qualified for the World Cup. No one gave them much of a big chance, to be honest, because obviously they were coming through the rigid qualification, extra qualification, playing Suriname 80 and all sorts of tough matches. Remember, well, because we did it, we covered a lot of those games. So they went through that and came in first, even though they dropped off in the last stage of the tournament, but at the same time they had all the qualities, to be honest, and he was an integral part of that, Jonathan David. And for Lil, this was one of his best seasons, to be honest. So,
Mhm.
what can I say? I would say that he should be the man winning the award based on performance, to be honest, because he was equally as good for Canada as how he
As
was
he
good
was
for Lille, to
before.
be honest. You know, he was
Yeah.
one of them that took them over the top. So, yes, I
Mhm.
would agree with you to say that he should be in the favorites column, to be honest.
Mhm.
Yes, so I do
Agreed.
agree with
Agreed.
you there. Brilliant player. Only can go from strength to strength, and I think
Mhm.
he will have a good long life in the Canadian team, and maybe breed
Yeah.
a new set of players. Them, and
Yeah.
not the
Agreed.
old one, old Hutchinson and others. Yes, yes,
Mm.
yes, old Hutchinson.
Look,
But
look. Hey, hey, hey. He can give me it. He can
Victoria,
still give us 60
old.
minutes. 60 minutes. That's all I need from him. Just 60 minutes. Over 3 games, yes. 60 minutes, though, yes. 60 minutes for sure. And I think the thing with David is that he followed that up with starting the season. I mean, right now, he's leading League Iron with goals. And again, this is 2023. This is the 2022 award. But he started the season on fire again, off of the World Cup, off of what he's done. So the year, he started it great for country, ending it great for club. And I think overall, one of the better consistent performances for a year for club and country.
Agreed. So, Alphonso Davies, what say you and the great Alphonso Davies? Because Alphonso Dino, I don't know what to say. What to say? What say you?
I like the conversation between David and Davies because I always like to call them the cousins because they're cousins and almost siblings. You have the outgoing one, which is Alfonso. He's out there. He's got the flashy plays. He's running up and down the wing. Jonathan David is just there collecting goals, quiet, just getting the job done in that sense. I mean, Davies had a solid year, but I think, and this is where we'll go into splitting hairs with players. I mean, Davies has the moments for Canada this year, right? He has the first goal in the World Cup. He also has the missed goal at the World Cup. And I'm not going to hold the miss against him, but it's just to say he has moments, right? We didn't have him for half of the year because his myocarditis off of battling coronavirus for the first half of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So we saw more of the team and we saw more David carry that team with the other players. Eustachio was another player. Kyle Larin did his job as well. But Davies, really, we only have a half of a year. And so it's hard to judge him based off of his year. He has the moments at the end, and by that point, he's starting to regain a bit of his physical ability, his endurance. So by the end of the year, he's starting to look more like the Davies that we know. So he's a name that gets brought up because we know him as the best Canadian player. We know him as the star. Should he be on this list? In my opinion, for this year, he has moments, but over the duration of his play, I think maybe we could have found a more deserving player. But for what he did, he certainly has 2 to 3 great moments for club and country this year, which can't be overlooked, which is probably why he's on this list.
All right. I would agree as well. Alphonso Davies, he never really featured much as all we would have wanted him because obviously the others' longevity in that same season would have been one of the main points why they're actually there. You get me? So Alphonso Davies had moments, and you can't take that away from him because he was also seriously important towards really. People looking at Canada as that ilk of team. Yes, he was. So even when we are saying that he's not needed to be in it, just the fear factor that he brought opened up space
Yes.
for the Alphonso, the Jonathan David and those guys. So he was very much important. Sorry that he never got a chance to finish the entire thing. And the same for Bayern Munich. He's not the same. Without him, Bayern Munich ain't the same. I think he's a very, very good player and maybe the hands down best player in the region. So them putting him there, it's going to be tough for we to select him because we know what happened in 2022. You understand me?
Yes,
Yes. So,
that's true.
but we will get down to that. So we're not going to linger there. Ochoa. 19,000 years old, but he was
Wow.
always solid from a million years. No.
Yes.
So what say you? Because he's always quality to me. What say you?
The,
Would you have him on this
the,
list? Do you
I
think
don't
he
know if I'd have
deserved
him
to
on
be on
this.
this list?
I don't know if I'd have him on this list, but I don't know who else you put on this list. There's an argument that maybe you put on, and maybe we'll go to this at the end versus throwing names in who should have made it, who couldn't have. But I think for Ochoa this year, he was still solid, but you started to see Father Time catch up with him, right? This run, you saw Father Time catch up, and he didn't necessarily have the team that could bail him out all the time. This is probably one of the weaker groups that Mexico's had. And with saying that, they still finished tied for the top of qualifiers in Concacaf. They didn't make it out of their group, but I mean, a weaker Mexico side still finished tied for first in this region. So I think for Ochoa, the question is going to be for his 2022, he was solid, but you started to see the cracks in the armor. And you almost aren't looking at it from a how long can he do it? It's more of a when will someone finally take this from him? Because I think they will keep going to him until they find a keeper that takes this job from him. But Ochoa was solid for Mexico, helped them, backstop them all the way to the World Cup. But I do think we started to see the cracks. Father Time is undefeated, as we know. And we started to see him look a bit more his age than versus the Ochoa in 18 or the Ochoa in 14 that we all know that songs were written about him. So I think he had a solid year, but closer to middle of the pack of these top six to bottom than to top for me. What say you, JD?
All right. So for me, I wouldn't add anything to that. I think Ochoa is just that dude that turns up. If his back line is not the best, he might give you. He will turn up just the same, but it's going to be tough for him because he's not the biggest frame keeper as well. So I love the fact that he keeps himself into the mix of this thing, and that was a year that you could say that he still tried his best, But obviously, the list of players that was outstanding was not so much high in the Concacaf region, so I could see how he got there, Yes, so I throw up kudos to him. But yeah, I would not select him as the main personnel. The more we go through these players, we can see one big clear standout if we want to go back to the year. And then the final person that we have on the list would be Christian Pulisic, Chelsea and United States.
And he's a tough one for me because I think on paper he fits the Davies mold where he's the name for the US. He's the name that we see it. The terrible analogy of the LeBron James of football or soccer, which I don't know who thought that was a good idea. It's a terrible analogy. But for the US, he had moments. And at the club, I mean, how much do we blame him for what's happened at the club? How much do we blame Chelsea for what's happened at the club? I think a lot of what he could and couldn't do at the club was just manager-wise, formation-wise, and even when it came to on the national team, and that's a whole conversation. I don't know if Berhalter was always putting players in the best position to succeed. Berhalter had a system he wanted to play, and it felt a little bit more round peg, square hole. And I think Pulisic is definitely a player who has the ability to play better than he did. He had moments, certainly. The goal in the World Cup is definitely a moment. Qualifiers, how he looked, he missed a little of it, but I think he's similar to Davies in the sense that he had moments, but I don't know if you can look at him, the full body of work, and say he is deserving of the award this year. What about you, JD? How do you feel about him?
For me, 2022, no. I think Pulisic had some spur of the moment situation in 2022 for the national team. Yeah, I think this was just a big name inclusion based on what I saw for him in 2022. To be honest, I would not put him up there with the likes of Jonathan David. And to be honest, I think Blake with some good moments for Jamaica and definitely stand out for Philadelphia Union might be ahead of him as well. So I want to say even Tyler Adams, I would put ahead of Pulisic, to be honest. So Pulisic made this one based on his name, to be honest. I know Tactical and those man not happy about that statement, but I think Tyler Adams might slap it over him still. But he made the list because of the weak performance over that year, to be honest. Yes.
Mhm.
So but big up to Pulisic. He's a talent, but not given the right chance, proving in the World Cup that he's definitely up there, you know. But in that specific year, I don't see him as that super player as the rest that stood out in this one to me.
Yeah.
All right. So based on your assessment, who would you give this one to?
Before we go there, JD, is there someone, a couple names you think should have made this list who didn't make this
Okay,
list?
okay. 2022.
Yeah.
It would be tough to say who I would put in. Maybe people would say Weston McKennie, they would have put in it.
Okay.
Weston McKennie would have been a shout.
Mhm.
Yeah, you could have put Weston McKennie in for United States. So Weston McKennie would be the first one, and then for Mexico, maybe you could have put in one or two players for Mexico. All right, maybe, but I would leave it alone. I think. No, I'm not gonna leave it alone. I'm not gonna leave it alone. I think I can go for a few more. You know, I think Joel Campbell, Costa
Okay.
Rica, Weston McKennie, United States. Yes,
Okay.
those are two. Then I would have to go. With for Mexico. Ajax man, what's his name again? Forgot his name. For Ajax, yes, Mexico and Ajax.
Alvarez.
Alvarez would have I would put in it. So Alvarez, Campbell, and McKennie. Those would be my three that I think would put a more solid 2020 year, 2022 year on this card. I think it would have looked better. Maybe the names would be so exciting, but definitely when you look at the 2022 performance of them, I would say so. For me, what about you?
I think I think you could have easily swapped Ochoa for Keylor Navas here. I know Ochoa didn't have the club pedigree here, but Costa Rica doesn't make it without Keylor Navas. So I would put him there. You went with Alvarez. I was thinking Chucky Lozano because early in qualifiers he looked spry. He looked good.
Okay.
Now
okay.
So I wouldn't hate it. We could have swapped those two. Joel Campbell, again, Costa Rica, based off how Luis Fernando Suarez wanted to play. It was Joel Campbell creating, and whoever had legs who were under the age of 29 to do something. So I think it definitely, Joel Campbell's a good shout there. I'm trying to think anywhere. And then Canadian wise, I would say Stefan Eustáquio.
Eustáquio, okay. Eustáquio had a good year. I thought you were gone for Victoria, one of those old men, you know.
hey, it's only player of the year if you're over 40, JD. That's how we roll here. But I think Eustáquio is definitely a good shout for the year that he had, moving to Porto and then cracking that lineup and now being a main fixture in that lineup, getting regular time and minutes. I think he definitely deserves a bit more recognition than he got. But I think, Navas, Lozano, and then Campbell, and then Eustáquio would be my honorable mentions who could have made this list over players like Davies and Pulisic and Ochoa, because Ochoa to a lesser degree, but I think Davies and Pulisic are there more for name brand than their actual year. But that's just how I see
fair
it.
enough. So winner, I think Jonathan David should win this one comfortable if you're looking at football side and not popularity contest. So let me know, guys, in the comment section. What say you, Africans? What say you? Would you agree on that?
Oh, I think what will happen is I think Davies will win the award, but I think it should be David. It should be Jonathan David. He had the best year from January to December. We didn't see Davies until March, April. So that time, it was David, Laren, Eustachio, and I point back to that January window where it was just Jonathan David
Mm-hmm.
and Eustachio wasn't playing, Davies wasn't playing for that January window,
True.
and it was
Mm-hmm.
David for 90, 90, 90, and he got it done. Okay,
Yeah.
and he's outrunning people at the 94th minute. And if I only had that fitness, JD, if I only had that fitness, but he did it. So that window stands out to me for him. So I think he should win it. And if I was going to go top three, it should be Jonathan David, Tyler Adams, and then you can have a debate. Probably for moment wise, you'll probably put Davies there, but I can entertain a.
Mm-hmm. You see
I
my
can
Jamaican
entertain
brother. I
a
think. I think Andre
I can
Blake. Andre
entertain. I
make it
can
in the top
entertain
three.
Andre Blake there. I can
Yes, he
entertain.
makes it in top
A
three.
debate between those two. I can entertain it for last
Yes,
year
I think Andre
specifically.
Blake
Yes.
makes it over Davis due to the fact that Andre Blake had a good full season for Philadelphia and had moments. Because if he never saved some of those shots at Jamaica, we ain't winning none of those games, or none of those games even remotely close.
Mm-hmm.
You understand me? So he's still putting his shifts, but definitely made errors as well. So that's why he's not up there for the entire thing. But definitely, I would agree with you. Jonathan David won it for me. All right, so guys, let me know in the comment section what say you. All right, smash the like button, share, and subscribe, and also go over to Africans and subscribe to his content as well. All right, massive respect. We're gonna come right after talking about the girls' football.